Good evening and welcome to the full Board of Aldermen meeting for June 11th. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
of the
United
States of
United
America,
States of America,
and
to
to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands
one
stands
nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under God,
under God,
indivisible,
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 liberty and
with
justice
liberty
for
and
all.
justice for all.
Trish, roll call.
Aldermen and women, King, Farrar,
Here.
Adamowski,
Here.
Tar, Cassetti,
Here.
Janetti,
Here.
Nutt,
Here.
Hardy, Yellman,
Here.
Rivers,
Here.
Mamone,
Here.
Short,
Here.
Levinsky,
Here.
Durante. We've got 10 present, 4 absent.
I declare a quorum. Before we start, I'd like to add the 2 late communications. You received them all in the packet, but they didn't make it onto the amended agenda. That's late communication number 1 from the Board of Ed and late communication number 2 from Chief Williams.
Motion to accept the late ads.
Second.
Motion by Mamone, second by Yauman. All in favor of adding those?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We'll pick those up after the original first communication later in the meeting. For minutes, as you remember, we had a busy couple days. We had 3 meetings in a row. So we'll take these in order. And I know you may or may not have been at all of them, so we'll do them separately. May 28th was the special.
2000.
May 28th was the special full board meeting, and you received the summary minutes in your packet.
Motion.
Motion. Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Mamone. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries. Second set of minutes was the next night, May 29th, the public hearing on the budget.
Motion to accept.
Information, right? It may not, I don't like, but
Whose phone is
you
that?
hit it on the head though, when.
Can you mute?
Whose-
Can you mute everyone? Can we mute everyone?
Thank you. Motion by Mamone and second by Not. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, and the last set was May 30th, the next night, the special meeting for budget adoption.
Motion to accept that one as well, Josh.
Second.
Mamone and second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously again. Thank you, guys. We'll move on to, let's make sure I got my agenda.
Can I make one brief comment,
Yes.
Mr. President?
Yep.
We need desperately to have someone lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yep.
So if we can try to do that for next meeting, because it's
We talked about this last month.
not getting better, Mr. President.
We had the school kids all lined up. Now school's out of session, but I do agree that it's horrific, and we should probably just appoint somebody to do it each month.
Thank you, Mr. President.
A special guest star, Alderman Rivers, and can do it the first month.
I'll pick a name out of the hat, and I pick Rivers for next month, and then we'll go from there. Yeah, I agree. Good call on that. All right, so next up is public session. So I'd like to open up the public session. Anyone from the public can speak. Same rules as always. Anyone can talk. Just please try to limit your statements or questions to 3 minutes or less. And please identify yourself for any follow-up or future contact. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak tonight to the alderman? Rich Bashara, hit it.
Good evening, Richard Bashara, 20 Sylvan Drive, and President of the Ansonia Board of Ed. President Stewart, members of the board, I'd like to speak about the fiscal 25 Board of Ed budget. I'd like to thank Mayor Cassetti and the Board of Aldermen for their continued support of the Board of Ed and the children of Ansonia with your approval of the Board of Ed budget. I have sent you the budget that the Board of Ed will be voting on tomorrow night based on your approval several weeks ago. I'd like to clarify several points about the budget process regarding the Board of Ed budget. The Board of Ed sent a budget request to Kurt Miller in February as requested by the budget director. Dr. DeBacco and Mr. Carey, the school business manager, worked diligently in preparing the detailed budget request for fiscal 25. This budget request was discussed with the mayor and his staff multiple times so that they understood what the increase requested was for. The Board of Ed will vote on this city-approved budget tomorrow. The Board of Ed approved budget is presented monthly as part of our Board of Ed agenda and is posted to the Board of Ed website. We include the operating budget, the grants budget, and the food service budget with actual expenditures, and we approve requests of transfers of funds between lines as needed, the same way the city does. As a member of the Board of Ed, I believe that our job is to provide the best education for our children that we can, and it is my opinion the best way to do that is to work with the city administration hand in hand. That is why the Board of Ed has returned $2 million to the city over the past several years. COVID allowed us to have savings in several areas, and instead of spending that money, the Board of Ed returned some of it to the city. Now that the pandemic is over, costs are back to normal, and the city has been able to accommodate our needs in providing a quality education to our children. Unfunded state mandates and being an alliance district makes it difficult for the Board of Ed and the Board of Aldermen to peacefully coexist. The state allocates any increases in our ECS funding to the alliance grant. Those funds cannot be used to supplant expenditures of the current operating budget. That means they cannot be used for salary increases, increases in benefits, increases in special education costs, and for the maintenance and upkeep of our facilities. Those are all paid by the Ansonia taxpayers. Case in point, in 2008, the city received $15,031,668 in ECS funding to help support a Board of Ed budget of approximately $24 million, roughly 60% of the education cost. In fiscal 25, the city will receive $15,031,668, the exact same amount as in 2008, in ECS funding to help offset a Board of Ed budget of approximately $38 million, roughly 40% of the education costs. This puts the entire increase in funding for our Board of Education on the taxpayers of Ansonia for the last 17 years. The education funding process in Hartford is broken, in my opinion, and the system currently in place creates a hostile environment between the city fathers and boards of education statewide. Hartford needs to understand the plight of the cities and the towns. Ansonia is a distressed municipality, and it is the 10th most densely populated city in the state. Over 20% of our student population transfers out each year, and this year 25% has transferred into our school district. That is 100 additional students over the last year at this time. Students from 18 different countries have moved in just this year. Teaching is like hitting a moving target sometimes, but our staff and administrators are devoted and committed to teaching our children. On another note, the Board of Ed is requesting approval to use some of the Board of Ed non-lapsing account funds for the purchase of additional curriculum for our students this year. Dr. Joe can share some of the successes we are seeing with the new curriculum. I thank you for your time and your support of the Board of Education and our children. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that explanation, Rich. Any other members of the public who wish to speak tonight? Please make yourself known. Any second call? Anyone from the public? Third and final call. Anyone from the public? Seeing none, we'll close the public session. Before we move on to the public official session, I just want to note, Trish, Alderman Hardy, arrived, during that, at about 7:08. So if you could, mark him as present. And I also want to note, for the record, that Alderman, Mario is not here because, his brother just had a child a couple hours ago, and so he was going to see his nephew. So congratulations to him.
Congratulations.
Moving on, we'll move on to public official session, starting with Mayor Cassetti.
Good evening, President Stewart, members of the Board of Aldermen and residents of the great city of Ansonia. First, I want to congratulate all the graduates of 2024. I'm honored to speak at the graduations. I will speak at my alma mater, Emmett O'Brien, this Thursday. I'm very proud of our students and what they have accomplished. We have crossed the momentous milestone on May 22nd. Not only was it my birthday, but Corporation Counsel John Marini appeared in court, and the court granted us title to 7 Riverside Drive, the western portion of Ansonia Copper and Brass. Thank you to this board for your approval and vote to secure this property. It is our future. It is the hopes and dreams of Ansonia and the Valley, and we will not let you down. We will begin utilizing the grant money that the state has held up now that we have a title. You will begin to see demolition, the entrance bridge being replaced, and an RFP for already interested developers to create an industrial park and return the hundreds of jobs to our city that were taken away from us when ACB closed. I can't stress enough that this is a priority for our city and has been since I took office in 2013. Our residents are depending on us to return this site to productive use. We have a number of events coming up that I am excited to tell you about. This Saturday, June 15th at 10 a.m., our splash pad will be opening. Looks like we will have weather in the 80s, so perfect for the children to enjoy. Joe in Chicago, get ready. In Veterans Park this Friday and every Friday until November, the farmers market is back from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Join me next Wednesday, June 19th at 11 a.m. in Veterans Park for the Juneteenth holiday commemoration. Also, the citywide tag sale will be held on June 22nd from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. The summer concerts begin soon on June 26th at 7 p.m. at Veterans Park and every Wednesday until mid-August. Finally, I would like to take this opportunity to wish a happy Father's Day to all the dads and father figures in your lives, and remember those who are no longer with us today. Enjoy the beautiful weather this weekend and the time well spent with your family. That's all for now. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Next up, Corporation Counsel, John Marini.
Mr. President, members of the board, as the mayor said, happy Father's Day to all those fathers in the weekend to come. I have an update rundown for you. I'll try to be as quick as possible. First, I want to give a big thanks to our ordinance committee that started to tackle a new housing code for the city a week ago. This involves civil fines for illegal apartments and unsafe apartments, and also sets up a pretty good structure for cracking down on all sorts of occupancy issues relative to rental properties. The ordinance committee, led by Attorney Joe Yauman, Alderman Joe Yauman, is very dedicated to this, has a lot of good ideas, and we're going to be returning to this ordinance likely several times before putting out a draft to the full board, but already it's tightening up and getting even better. Encourage the public and other officials to stay tuned and also to visit the next ordinance committee to participate in the discussion. Speaking of ordinances, we have 2 on your agenda tonight, ordinance 1 and 2. They deal with stormwater and they are vital to addressing some regulatory issues, but they do need to be set on their proper course. So what I'm asking for this full board to do tonight is to send those to the ordinance committee, and they'll be dealt with as matters on the next agenda, along with the developing housing code. I also want to turn your attention on behalf of our Ansonia Police Chief and the Police Department to late communication number 2. And that is a time-sensitive issue involving a vehicle maintenance bidding that needs to be resolved. So hoping that you can look at that tonight and act on that accordingly. As the mayor talked about, copper and brass, we've moved forward with possession of the property. So right now we're in the stages of securing an appraisal of the full property, and also moving towards the process of bid for lease or purchase of the entirety of all 60 contiguous acres. This is going to be a large-scale project, and obviously the consequences are tremendous. The mission is jobs and revenue for the city, and the absolute highest and best purpose. City's not looking to dole out incentives other than the big one, which is to clean and remediate this property to get it into position for development using the millions that we have from our state and federal partners. And obviously a huge thanks to them. And again, it cannot go without being said again and again, thanks to this board, because without the city's unprecedented step of owning the 60 acres of former factory of space, this project would not be possible. The funds would not be coming in, and there would be no ability to get this property to its highest and best use. So thank you. But the process is going to be beginning. We're going to go to the requisite boards and commissions to get the initial approvals, the appraisal, and all this needs to be done before that bid actually goes out. Also, speaking of bids, Opera House, you've heard that there's a bid out for a study using the grant funds that were secured for a feasibility study to break down the actual cost of developing the site. Also, some renderings have been prepared, some 3D renderings, and the city will be soon unveiling them. We're hoping this will be a good catalyst to attract attention to the site from possible investors and the public. And I can say this about the project: what started as a potential for exterior improvements and a long shot for interior changes has really evolved into something that the state has recognized as a very, very viable and interesting project, one that goes hand in hand with our demolition of copper and brass. SHPO, that agency at the state that looks to historic preservation, really wants to ensure that if we're demolishing historic properties, and in this case, copper and brass is considered historic, that we need to do our best to remediate alternate sites to ensure that we're keeping up the history of our city. And they truly love the idea of the Opera House being a trade-off here, being a site that the city can restore, not just the exterior, but the interior in order to balance things out. And so we're very excited that we're going to have a first look at what the inside of the Opera House could be. And when the study is complete, we'll know what the actual cost is. And the goal at the end of the day is likely going to be, as Sheila can explain in more detail, something she's done before in Derby, is to secure a tax credit program. That way, a developer interested in partnering with the city and the Opera House's owner, Walt Konjursky and his family, such a developer can get a tax write-off of up to dollar for dollar of the money they put in to bring this property up to the appropriate standard to meet the approved plan, what will be an approved redevelopment plan for the site. And so you're talking about a tremendous opportunity to preserve history, but also create a wonderful entertainment and community venue in the heart of our downtown that is certainly developing every day. So that's the Opera House. More on community, Gaddison Park. We're looking to schedule a meeting of our Ward 1 and 2 aldermen, along with our Public Works Director, and at the pleasure of this board, some residents, to begin a formal conversation about securing an engineer for the project and talking about some redevelopment, reuse, and restoration of the Gaddison Park facilities for the purpose of benefiting the public. And of course, we want to hear exactly what the public has to say as to the best way those funds could be utilized. And these are ARPA funds. So these are funds coming from the federal government. We talked a little bit, or you may have heard a little bit in the news about an abused animal situation that we had on 22 Condon Drive in the city. We've brought in action to take possession of 11 abused canines that were pulled out of an apparent puppy mill. Hearing has now been scheduled for July 11th. And hopefully the court will agree with us that these animals have been neglected, abused, mistreated, and that they're better in the care and protection of the city. I've been working closely with Jeannie on this, our animal control officer. She's going above and beyond to make sure that we do everything possible to keep these animals safe and to keep them away from the individuals who have abused them. You can read more about that in the news coverage, but know that the city is taking action and should be coming into the possession of those animals shortly to ensure for their continued care. Finally, summer camp. Big shout out to Valley Save Our Youth, the city, and our recreation director, Jeff Capola. We've been partnering with Leonard Duffus and his Valley Save Our Youth organization, local nonprofit, to enhance our Ansonia summer camp more than ever before. We have a site at the middle school, 5 weeks scheduled out. Jeff has been reporting some great enrollment numbers. I think up to 80 or 90 kids at this point. $125 flat fee gets a child all 5 weeks. And the camp is going to include a variety of different activities, from sports to arts to field trips to performances. So we're looking to really enhance this camp more than ever before. That's Camp Charger. And finally, Rock the Valley. There's going to be a forthcoming announcement tomorrow on the city's social media about this year's Rock the Valley, the headliner, the bands. So stay tuned for that. And other than that, we have some business on the agenda and also an executive session, but I'll take any questions for now.
Any questions for Attorney Marini from the Aldermen?
It's Tony, sorry. Got a quick question. So on the work for Ansonia Copper Brass, did you have a slated timeline on when we're good? We could, well, the demolition, it was great. It was, pretty good to see the progress that was pretty tangible there. So I guess when can we expect to see some of the next phases of that to start in?
I think as Sheila will likely echo, I hear her echoing, a lot of this is going to depend on the end user. There are certain things that we know, pieces of this project that need to be accomplished, but what an end user brings to the table will ultimately determine which buildings are salvaged, which ones are completely demolished, and to what level they need to be demolished and remediated. So definitely one of the big goals here now with acquisition is looking for that end user and bringing those proposals in front of this board to have that very crucial, very important decision. But other elements like the replacement of the bridge, these are things that need to be done. And I'll kind of segue right into Sheila's part at this point.
Okay,
Sheila?
thank you. Thanks. Appreciate it. Sorry, I thought I was gonna go after Chief Williams. Sorry, Chief Williams. Yeah, so I mean, Tony, that's a really good question, because yes, it's great that we put these applications together and we work hard to put them together and submit them, and they've been successful. The state and federal funds come with a lot of strings, as everyone probably knows. And so there's a ton of restrictions, and actually much more restrictive than they've ever been. So we have to deal with SHPO before we can take any building down. And that requires some agreement and some trading of buildings, if you will, instead of just being able to demolish all at once, which is more cost effective. There's environmental regulations that have to be adhered to, and there's a lot of restrictions like the title. So we were waiting on title before we could spend any of the money. And SHW were waiting on the state for, again, historical permission to demolish some of the facilities. But on a positive note, Eastern Metals, who is interested in SHW, has decided that they need more space And we think that perhaps the extrusion mill can be retrofitted for their purposes. They need now over 100,000 square feet. So that's good news that they want more space to expand their company. So we'll be trying to prep the site and prep the extrusion mill for their arrival. I think John had covered the RFP for the Opera House. We'll get that back. Their bids are due back on July 2nd, and we'll be bringing them before this board for your approval of the winning bid. And also we have design build specs, which I would like to share with Jeannie first, and then we will go out to bid for the animal shelter. So we just received those today. Let's see. We did get further funding through the COG for our Riverwalk and Greenway segment that will run in conjunction with the Kinneytown Dam project. So that's exciting. I think I'm missing a couple of things, but in any event, that's basically it for now. Thank you.
All right. Any questions for Sheila? We can always come back to you as well.
Yes,
Okay.
I have a question.
Sorry,
Oh.
Steve.
Sure.
Start with Steve and then go to Tony for questions. Go ahead.
Sheila, on the issue of replacement of historic buildings with demolition, do you anticipate that the Opera House would fully meet the replacement needs as defined by the state, or do you feel that another historic property will also have to be added to that?
And that's a good question. I'm very hopeful because they're very interested in the Opera House that will suffice. But I believe as we continue to go further into Ansonia Copper and Brass, that there will be some more horse trading. I'm hoping not, but we'll see, Steve.
Okay, because we also have the original site of the old Ansonia High School.
Oh, right. Yes,
Which, though not designated as such, is a historic site.
that's right.
Could
Okay.
be revitalized, very similar to the Gaddison Park effort.
Yes.
Relative to that type of exchange. But anyway, just a question regarding how much would need to correspond.
Yeah, how much would they take in it as a trade is what
Yes,
you're
yes,
asking?
right.
Yeah, I mean, so I will say that they've been pretty receptive to the Opera House, and I thought that we would have to do much more than that. So hopefully it's not going to be a 1-for-1. Hopefully we can get a few buildings down for one building in exchange for another building. Some of the buildings on the Ansonia Copper and Brass are really just butler buildings. And so, don't have the historical value that some of the buildings on SHW did.
Right.
So it honestly depends. And the extrusion mill, if we're going to renovate and reuse that building, that's a trade. That's also a trade for them. They will consider that as a substitution.
And just one related question. This came up before. I'm not sure you knew the answer at that time. But the office building, the American Brass office building where the fire occurred.
Yes.
Was that included in the foreclosure of the American Brass property?
I think John mentioned Alderman Adamowski, just the west side of the property right now, there'll be a court date for the east side, which will include that office building.
Okay, so that is still in progress at this point.
Correct. So I think John is anticipating shortly we'll be hearing from the court.
But should the city create ownership or be granted ownership of that as well, that would also be subject to development along with the rest of the American Brass site, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Alderman Ramon, you had a question as well?
Yeah, sure. I was gonna ask if we had any updates on Colony or anything further on Olson.
Yep, I know that for Colony, the lower field, according to Josh Ionati with VHB, was not going to be a problem to get that back in service for the soccer folks, and that he was in communication with Jeff, but needs further information from Jeff Bryce, which I'm sure Jeff is happy to turn over. Regarding the field, the 11v11 field. And then hopefully, depending on the amount, what the amount of the cost to repair it will be, we'll get the same company back out there. If it's under 25,000, we'll get 3 quotes and hopefully get the same company back out to finish the repairs. With Olson Drive, I know you've been asking regularly, Tony, and folks have been asking about Olson Drive. We are working with the developer's engineer to get the field plan in place and to make sure that we have the proper elevations, and we know where the soil, once it's been sifted through and cleaned, where that soil can be placed and where the cap can be placed. So hopefully this week you'll see more testing being done. Some of the soil is going to be hauled off, but hopefully this month you will see those piles either removed or spread out through the area where the field is going to be put in place.
Excellent, great news. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions?
One quick one, Josh, if I can. Sheila or John, I don't know. Just looking for an update on the Kinneytown Dam. You had mentioned it, Sheila. Just kind of the whistle was blown back in March, and I just wanted to get any updates that we have on that in terms of what the COG is doing.
Yep, Joe. Yeah, they have appointed a liaison person for Kaylee Mihalko, who's Ansonia resident, is going to be working part-time for the COG to be the liaison person and to, make sure people get pamphlets and are updated. I don't have we did, the mayor, Anna Rodriguez, and myself rode on took a train ride with NVCOG and CT Rides to discuss the Kinneytown Dam and the fact that EPA is out there now looking at the pond itself, but there hasn't been any movement to date going on over there, and they are supposed to post everything on the NVCOG site. In addition to that, we will try to keep everybody updated on Facebook with anything that takes place. And I know Alderman Farrar has been asking quite frequently about that project as well.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the update. I'm just a little, based on the way the alarm was blown there and the way all that went down, it made it seem like this was an imminent threat. So I just wanting to make sure. It seems anyway, from my perspective, that may have been wrong to blow that kind of whistle and raise that kind of alarm. But if EPA and DEEP are out there now looking at it and making sure, investigating and looking at it, and as well as the surrounding communities, Seymour and Ansonia, making sure that the structure itself is not going to fall apart tomorrow.
No.
And the best way to renovate that, because that's what it seemed like in March.
I think they were concerned, and I agree with you, it was a bit of an overstatement, but they were concerned about flooding from the pond, flooding the railroad tracks and potentially causing some damage to anyone, that was using the train. at the time, but I don't think, I don't think there's any real imminent threat, danger right now.
Thank you. I appreciate the update.
Yep, no
Right.
problem.
Any other questions?
I got one more. I'm not sure if it's a Sheila or a John question. Traveling through Franklin Street, it kind of feels like a war zone or service of the moon
Yeah.
at some point. Do we know, like, is there an end? Sorry, Josh. Is there an end in sight to that where that stretch of road can get back to some sort of normalcy where you don't feel like you're gonna, either pop a tire or lose a suspension on your vehicle?
I'm going to jump in, Tony. First it was June, then it was July, and what, Sheila, now it's August?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I don't want to laugh, but I've been going back and forth with them that, I can't possibly imagine how the state could leave that road without doing the entire road, because if they're going to just patch, it looks like they're patching that section where they tore up. But we're going back and forth. Like, certainly we want to, we definitely want to be able to fund the reconstruction if it's needed and get the grant funds for it. But I don't think, I haven't gotten a clear answer as to whether they're going to pave the entire road. And if you pave the entire road, the sidewalks are just crumbling around the road. So until I have a clear answer from the state, I will let everybody know. And I know you guys have been asking routinely. I want the residents to know that your aldermen are doing a great job. They are, constantly on me with these projects to get answers out to the residents. So while I think you're bugging me sometimes, I appreciate it.
Whatever we can do, Sheila, because Tony's absolutely right. And I know me and Chicago have talked about this. I mean, Franklin Street's atrocious right now. So,
Yep, it really is.
Whatever we can do to write letters, talk to the people we need to talk to, whatever assistance you need, please don't hesitate to ask.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it. I know that. Thanks.
Yeah, because the residents has been waiting on them new sidewalks that
Yep.
promised.
Yep.
And because of the state, it held everything up. So
Yep, right. Thank you. I will let you guys know as soon as I get a status update, a more recent status update.
okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Any last minute questions? It's like marathon session with economic development. Anyone else?
Lots going on, Josh.
Yeah.
Good.
Anyone else? All right. Well, Police Chief Wayne Williams has been waiting patiently his turn in line. So we
Poor
will.
chief, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. First, I wanted to jump in on the Franklin Street and just let you know that I don't know if it was last week or a little over a week ago, they had those heavy torrential rains, and that caused that area where they're doing the construction to flood. So we had to bring them out to do some work, and I know it caused some damage as to what they were working on. And then I know last night they additionally ran into some problems, so we had the road closed, I think, till 10 o'clock last night. So yeah, I know that our officers and our scheduling supervisor have talked to them, and I know you were joking about August, but I think you might be shortening yourself a little bit. I'm not sure August is going to be a viable date from what they're talking to our scheduling supervisor. And then if those at the lower end of Franklin Street are feeling left out, I noticed they've marked out a bunch of areas on the lower part of Franklin Street. So I expect that you're going to see some maintenance and some construction taking place down there as well. So Mayor Cassetti, President Stewart, members of the Board of Aldermen, first, as previously has been done, I want to thank you for passing the budget for the 24-25 fiscal year and for funding the police department as was requested. I appreciate your continued support of our officers and the mission of this department by the mayor and the boards. So I thank you again. Personnel, quickly, we have 2 officers in the academy with 1 graduating tomorrow night. We also hired 1 officer by the Board of Police Commissioners hired 1 officer at their meeting last week, and he's scheduled to start the academy in Waterbury next week. We also have 5 open police officer positions. So as I've said at every meeting, if you know anybody, send them my way. Speeding and traffic enforcement, I just want to let you know that phase 10 of 10 phases of a grant that we had gotten last year, we just concluded, and I'm working on the closeout paperwork for the state. Phase 3 of our DUI grant is still being staffed. And I also want to let you know that I applied for and was granted a $50,000 grant for additional speed enforcement from the state of Connecticut, which runs from July to September. So we will be putting those speed enforcement patrols back out throughout the summer. We're working on several capital projects, and we'll be coming to the board in the coming months regarding those purchases. Some of them are yearly purchases, such as vehicles, and others are those that come every 5 to 10 years. So I'm working with the finance department and our vendors to come up with those for you. Another change, July 1st, we are switching to an outside vendor called Extra Duty Solutions. They're going to be handling all of the scheduling and billing for extra duty, or we call them private duty jobs, the construction jobs you see officers working. This vendor is at 0 cost to the department, and it's going to alleviate the burden that's on our shift supervisors currently. All of our vendors have been notified, and our officers have received training on the online app last week. This will help to streamline the process and make it more efficient. The city will also not have to front the money for paying the officers while we wait for the vendors to pay their bills. So this is a win-win for across the board. I've worked with the finance department, with the union, and these vendors to get this across the finish line. So we plan to start on July 1. I think I told you at the last one, please, the accreditation process that is the ship that never finds a port. Tier 1 is done, and we are working on Tier 2. As Attorney Marini referred, and you saw on several media outlets, we executed a search warrant at 22 Condon Drive last Friday and discovered multiple dogs in distress and in need of medical attention. I know that we're working with the city, our detective bureau, animal control, to come up with a solution. We did seize multiple dogs, and we're looking to have the care for those turned over to us. They are receiving medical attention right now. The medical attention is costly. Unfortunately, 2 of the 11 dogs had to be humanely euthanized due to their medical conditions. And another animal was found deceased at the residence when we executed that search warrant. A necropsy is taking place to determine why that dog died. We've made 2 arrests in this case so far, and additional arrests are possible. I know that we have a hearing coming up, and I'm also working with the Attorney Marini and the city on a way to try and recoup some of the funds that we're going to have to spend to care for these animals. The Memorial Day parade went off without any issues. I do want to give a special attention. We have bicycle officers here that we try to get out as often as we can, but due to staffing levels, it's getting more difficult. But I do want to recognize Sergeant Brendan Nelson last month participated in the National Police Unity Tour, where he rode a bike with thousands of other riders to Washington, D.C. as part of National Police Memorial Week. And then Sergeant Nelson, Peterson, Podorsky, Edwards, and Sterling participated in a memorial ride from the Hartford Police Department to the Law Enforcement Memorial in Meriden as part of our state ceremony. Additionally, we had officers and riders participate in the Special Olympics torch run, and which went off very well received. And I also want to credit some of the Ansonia High School students came out and ran with our officers, along with some of the participants from the Special Olympics. There is a letter before you tonight from the Police Department, the Board of Police Commissioners, regarding the bid process. I can talk about that when the letter comes up. But I am here for any questions.
Any questions for the chief from the alderman?
I have a question, Josh.
Yep. Go ahead.
Chief, first of all, thank you for an excellent report. I was particularly interested in the speeding grant, $50,000 grant from the state. This is, as you know, a serious problem in my ward, the second ward, and many wards in the city. Just congratulations on that. Curious as to what that money is actually used for. Is that police overtime? Is it additional? Are there any other additional expenses? How do you use that grant?
So each grant has a little bit different with its parameters. The one that we just finished last week, or this week actually, on the 10th, was overtime, fringe benefits, but we were also able to purchase some equipment with it. So it helped to offset, instead of us having the radar and LiDAR, we call them, the tools we use for radar enforcement, speed enforcement, they get old after a while, and the city has to pay for these. But we were able to buy some of those through the grant, so the city didn't have to pay for those costs. And additionally, this is above and beyond what we normally do when it comes to the spending of the overtime. This is officers come in and their specific tasks are radar enforcement on specific streets, and the grant pays 100% of the costs of the overtime to the city, including the fringe benefits such as paying for pension, because their overtime is pensionable. The grant also pays for that. So it's at no cost to the city.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for the chief from the alderman?
Just to follow up, Alderman Adamowski, and the grant we just got is not for equipment, it is strictly for overtime.
Not so much a question, but I did hear the word speeding, and just point out, Chief, Wakely Avenue is a speedway, like I do every summer month. So if you need to see any drag racing after 10 on Friday and Saturday nights on Wakely Avenue.
Yeah.
Wakely Avenue, I will tell you, is there are several streets that are heavily enforced. Wakely Avenue is definitely one of them that was actually named specifically in the grant that we just got. So I'm aware of it. We are up there on a regular basis, and we will continue to enforce it up there.
Wow.
Appreciate all the hard work. Thank you, Chief.
Names specifically, huh?
Yeah, there were several streets that when we put together grants, it used to be a lot easier. It's a lot more difficult now. You have to be much more specific, and it's all online. So you have to go through different databases, et cetera. So that was definitely one of the streets. And as you also saw, that was one of the streets we identified a while back, and that's why it has the speed controlled sign that's up there.
Yeah.
As well. So no, we are aware Wakely Avenue is one of our issues when it comes to the speed enforcement. You made the street look great. The city did a great job on paving it, etc. But this is some of the aftermath that comes with it. I can tell you right now, on the upper part of Franklin Street, they don't speed.
Yeah.
Yet. Yet, Chief.
You
Right.
keep asking for that road to be paved. Remember, you're asking for it.
Any last minute questions? All right, thank you, chief. Appreciate it. And we'll come back to you if necessary.
Absolutely.
Communication 3. Before I go to our next guest, who's Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Joseph Tabacco, I just want to note that Dr. Joe, you were present at the beginning. You heard that abominable version of the pledge. So we will limp through the summer, but I'll be getting with you in August to line up our speakers for future meetings for starting in the fall. Hopefully we can get some better than ourselves in the future. So with that, we'll go to Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Tabacco.
Thank you. And absolutely, we will help with that. And I want to say good evening, President Schuer and members of the Board of Aldermen. I also would like to share the same sentiments that Wayne shared, Chief Williams, saying thank you to Mayor Cassetti and thank you to the Board of Aldermen for supporting and passing the city budget. Once again, supporting our staff and our students to help us move forward. At this time, I would love to give you a little bit of a recap of the end of the year, just so everyone knows. We graduated 143 students on Saturday morning, and Monday was our last day of school. And just a little recap, some highlights. I'd just like to let everyone know we had 103 kids that were enrolled in dual enrollment college credit classes. We had close to 1,200 college credits that were awarded to our students, and close to $1 million worth of scholarship dollars that were awarded to our students as well. 37 of our 143 students were accepted to UConn, which is a little over 25% of our class accepted to UConn. I would put that up against any other school within the Valley or around Connecticut. That was a great outcome for us. We had 42 of our seniors that participated in our career pathway programs, anywhere from engineering to cybersecurity to our patient care technician certification program through Griffin Hospital. We actually had our first ever South Korean global research partnership, which will once again carry on till next year. This summer, our students will have internships at places, hopefully you know, a place called Butterfly, Microboard, Sikorsky, and the Farrell Company. Our students will be doing internships this summer. This class, this senior year, has accumulated over 3,000 hours worth of community service credits. And on top of that, we have NVL, Boys and Girls NVL Copper Division titles for basketball. We have a 1,000-point scorer for our boys basketball team. It's the best girls soccer record in school history, making NVL semifinals and quarterfinals. Girls tennis record, making it to the NVL's best tennis record, making NVL semifinals. And of course, we had back-to-back Class S and New England state champions for our cheer team. Those are just some highlights and recap of our seniors. Once again, a great class this year. I know there is a correspondence in front of you, which I could speak to at that time, but I do want to let you know preliminarily, we have some very positive student data. A lot of it's embargoed, but I'm able to see it, and it's exciting. And at that time, if you have any questions for that correspondence, I'm here to answer them. But at this time, any questions, I'm here to answer as well.
Thank you. Any questions for the superintendent from the alderman?
Just a comment. I just want to thank you for a great job that you have been doing here in Ansonia.
It's an honor to serve here in Ansonia. I love it.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you for coming, and hopefully you can stick around, and we'll take up that communication too in a short bit. Moving on, we have financial reports. First up, the Finance Committee.
I'll make a motion to deem correct.
Motion to file bills if deemed correct by Mamone, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously. Second is the vote recommendations.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Betty, second by Rivers. Any questions on that? All right, motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. All right, motion carries unanimously. And let's see, it's gonna get to my the second, the request for refunds, which was in the amount of $1,001.52 if found to be correct.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Knott. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries unanimously. Monthly reports. I just wanted to again thank all those departments that submit reports to us every month. This month, fire marshal, tax collector, land use, anyone else I may have forgotten. Thank those departments. We do read those, and I'd like to just have a motion to accept those reports and place them on file?
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Not. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed or abstaining? All right, motion carries. Accidents and claims, we had one 04241057.
Motion to refer to council.
Second.
Motion to refer to council by Yaman, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, motion carries. Let's see, communications. So we have three communications. First communication is from Arms Chief Michael Rojola. This came up last month, and there was a request for the contract and the information, and that was submitted in your packet. What's your pleasure?
Make a motion.
Motion to approve.
Rivers, was it you making a motion to approve that?
Yes, I was.
All right, and a second by Cassetti. Any discussion?
Yeah, I just, is, Kirk here tonight? Because that's what we, held this up for.
I don't see him.
Okay.
All right, motion in a second. All in favor of approving that?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries, approved. Second one,
So Josh, just on Alderman Rivers' comment, I think the point was that we needed to see the 3-year capital budget and how this would be paid for, and the timing of how it would be paid for before approving it. So I think that's still very relevant and something that needs to come before this board as soon as possible. As Alderman Rivers said, this was supposed to be delivered this evening.
Without really saying too much, Kurt could not make it tonight. He's under the weather.
Okay. Point being is that, if he puts in the contract, it takes 3 years. For the first payment is a year away, so we have time to figure that out.
okay. So well, that was approved. Let's move on to the next one, which is was briefly mentioned in Rich Bashar's talk and also by the superintendent. This was the request from the school, from the BOE, to release some of the funding from the non-lapsing account in the area to update curriculum for literacy, math, and science. Specifically, they are requesting $430,000 out of that account.
Josh, I have a question. Is Rich still on the phone? Or Rich, are you listening?
Rich and Joe DeBacco are both here.
And I just need the finance okay on that.
Rich?
Yes, what's the question? I'm sorry, Tony.
The question in the non-lapsing account, there's still the 430,000 in there?
Yeah, there's 540,000. It's been there since, I think, 2001. And it's just part of the designated fund balance.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the request.
I'll second.
Yeah, okay.
Motion by Mamone, second by Yaman. Any other questions or comments? All right, motion to approve that transfer to the school.
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries. Late communication number 2 or communication number 3. This was also referenced by the chief, who's also still here. This was Board of Police Commissioners voted to select the bid from Auto Repairs Unlimited to provide vehicle maintenance for the Ansonia Police Department. They were the only bidder. met all the requirements, respectfully requesting the Board of Aldermen approve the award the maintenance contract to Auto Repairs Unlimited of 535 Main Street, Ansonia.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Rivers. Who was the seconder on that?
Yeah.
Yauman. Any comments or questions, discussion?
Is this the same facility we used today?
It is. Auto Repairs Unlimited is the same vendor that's repaired our vehicles for, I think we're on our 21st year with them.
Oh, wow. So pretty new in the business for us, huh?
Yeah, no, they've been repairing our vehicles. They provide excellent service. I have no worries.
Perfect. All right, no further questions. Thanks, good.
It's a good price too.
The price went up, but it's
Yeah.
still
Still
lower
good.
than dealerships.
Nice job, Rivers.
What price hasn't
No,
gone up?
Jesus.
No, it's still good though, I'm telling you.
That's fair too, Joe. Thanks.
Very reliable.
Any other questions or comments on this? All right, we had a motion and a second to approve this. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. Moving on, we had no resignations. We have no resolutions. We have no appointments this month.
Mr. President, really quickly, I know that it's not on the agenda and it's not technically I guess a resignation, but I did see the letter that was sent to us. It was labeled FYI with our Democratic registrar.
Oh, yeah.
And I just wanted to make a comment that I've known Tom for many years. He has done his job well, and I would like to make a motion to send a letter of thanks from this board for all its hard work and years of service.
Good catch, Joe. Motion by Yauman and second by Rivers. And thank you for pointing that out. Yeah, you guys all got that. That was a late. It was just listed as FYI.
Yeah.
Great.
Can you give me the name?
Mafio.
Thank you.
And I can send you the letter if you didn't get that. I think it came yesterday. All right, moving on. We have there's two things listed under ordinances, but I think don't we have to send these two ordinances to be finalized? These are yes?
Yeah, that's what my understanding. So I would just make a motion to refer these to the ordinance subcommittee.
Second.
Motion to refer to ordinance subcommittee by Yauman, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion carried.
And just for the board's understanding is that we're anticipated to meet either next week or the week after. As John indicated, to have that housing ordinance hopefully before this board for the July meeting. And I imagine we'll be working on these as well. So I encourage everybody to come. I'll get that
Thanks.
scheduled and set out as soon as we can, Sheila.
Yeah, through you, Mr. President. Thanks, Joe. That's time sensitive, the stormwater stuff.
Yep, that's how. Thank you, Sheila.
Perfect. Do we have it? Is there any new business?
Yes, there is some new business.
Okay.
I was contacted by Little League, and they had to buy 25 tons of clay. And I feel that if it's not uniform or related, it's for the field. I feel that the city should reimburse them for that clay. I have the invoice. I think I forwarded the invoice to Josh, so we can get working on that.
Well, I just got that yesterday from
Yeah,
you. So I don't know how that works with if they work through Public Works or whether they just went on their own or whatever. But I would defer to John or Corporation Counsel or Sheila to
Chicago. Do you know how they came to how that came up? Was it that it needed to be done and they just needed to get that restored?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
They had to get that restored, and from my understanding, okay, now I could be wrong, but I think from my understanding, they did talk to Public Works about it. So, I don't think they had it in their budget, so they took it out of their funds.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's not an expense that we expect our leagues to make, right? That's the upkeep of the fields, the foundation that they can utilize to play on, right? And that's the city's obligation, not the league's obligation. So, you know, to me, this sounds like a reimbursable expense on the part of the league, something that truly they shouldn't have had to do. So I think, Alderman Rivers, make sure that's submitted. You give it to Josh. Josh, you know, let's take a look at that. And if it is something that needed to be done, a deficiency that needed to be corrected on the playing surface, by all means, I think the league should be reimbursed. We shouldn't be making them pay out of pocket for the basics of a playable field. No.
Great.
thank you. All right.
Any other new business? Old business? All right, that's it. We have executive session. We have 3 items in executive.
Motion to go into executive session even before you finish.
Yep. Motion to go to executive session by Rivers,
Second.
second by Cassetti. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so we have 3 items.
Everybody's done here. Motion to come out of executive session.
Motion by Rivers, second by Tar to come out of executive session. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, in executive session, we had 3 items. We'll take them in order. On the issue of executive session number 1, Blight Lien, 9294 Howard Avenue. What's your pleasure?
I'd like to make a motion to waive the lien in its entirety.
Second.
Motion to waive lien in entirety by Yaman, second by Rivers. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
One opposed. Adamowski, abstentions? 0 abstentions. Motion carries. Number 2, the issue of firefighter Chris Godfrey's claim. What would you like to do?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the claim and to have council proceed as discussed in executive session.
Second.
second.
Motion to approve claim, and what was the second part of that, Joe?
To have council proceed as discussed in executive session.
I second.
And,
I second.
Motion by Yaman. I think Rivers beat you to it.
Danny,
no
you
worries.
try.
No worries. That's good. That's good.
Janetti, I need some ties. All right, I'll come see you soon.
You got it, man. You got it. Anything for you, my friend.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. And number 3, bid of city property, RE 48 Silver Hill Road.
Motion to have staff advise bidders as directed.
Second.
Can you repeat that again? So
Yeah, the motion to have city staff advise the bidders as discussed in executive session, sorry.
Okay, Trish, you got that?
Yep.
Okay, and who's the seconder on that?
Me.
Rivers again. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain.
1 abstention, Cassetti. Motion carries. That's it.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Rivers, second by Janetti. All in
Thanks,
favor?
everyone.
Thank you.
Aye.
Oh, yeah, get up close.
Have a good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.